Hey guys. Well, can you hear me? Well, I hope so, because today we are going to be going over listening along with a few other things. So, what these chapters that you should be reading are going over, and what we're going to be focusing on this week, as I already said, is listening, but also language and ethics. Yes, this is when the APA stuff is going to start coming. So, be looking, and your APA tab is going to start filling up with more and more items for me to help you to show you some tactics that you can use, some other ways that you can do. So make sure you start doing it, and if you have any questions, always ask me. But we're going to be looking at it because part of ethics is being able to cite correctly and give credit to where credit is due. And that's why APA is so key. It's not the format as much, but it's actually giving credit to where credit is due. And part of that is the formatting of doing it, so you're not actually plagiarizing, which we're going to get into a little bit later. So let's keep on going. So first, let's define the word language. As you can read up here with me, language is a unified system of symbols that permits the sharing of meaning. All that says is that the human language and how we do it, from sign language to Spanish to English to Mandarin, it does not matter. It's the symbols that we have, these ideas that we use that are shared within the community, that are shared within the culture, that help us identify what each thing means. So if we look at an apple, we know that an apple means apple because the word apple. But if we look at a different language, the word apple, that symbol, that sound, means nothing to them if they do not know the word for apple, or if they do not know the English language. Okay, so when I went to China over the summer, I had to learn a lot, and I was able to pick up on different things, and I was able to speak some Mandarin, very, very little. But I was able to speak some Mandarin, start understanding some things that they're saying. It was a lot easier to understand than to actually do, but I was still able to do it. Now, as we're going, I want to do this peanut butter and jelly activity. So, real quick, I want you to take out a piece of paper, and you can use the paper a little later on. But what we're going to do is I want you to know that you're about to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You have the supplies of peanut butter, jelly, a spoon, a knife, and some people like to use both a spoon and a knife like I do, and of course, bread. So pause it real quick and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Write a list about how you're going to do it. So tell me how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So go for it. Okay, so hopefully you pause it. If not, pause it now. But if you have paused it and you've already done it, now I want you to look through your list. Are you being specific enough, or are you making assumptions? Are you making assumptions that people are understanding that put the peanut butter on the bread means to actually open up the bread, to grab the spoon, to open up the peanut butter, and to do that? Yes, a lot of this is common sense, but we know a lot of people who don't have common sense. But there might be people who are looking at your language, who are looking at your speech, who do not know what you're talking about. This goes in with analyzing your audience. Yes, if you tell people to put the peanut butter on the bread in the English language, and most of your listeners will understand to open up the bread, grab one of the utensils, and open up the peanut butter. Yes, that's common sense, but we're using this basic example to show that if you're talking about something more complex, such as biological terms, or you might be talking about something to do with riding a horse or starting a car, or something like that. Some people might not know what certain parts are, so you have to make sure that you're giving them details and specific enough where you are able to walk them through it, where you're not just saying, hey, you should do this, and it's some big, over extravagant idea that they don't know what that word means. Okay? So make sure that you are being crucial in your details. And also, when you're comprehending, that you're listening, because details matter, and details are so important. Now, as we move on, we're going to look at what words in a culture means. As we already talked about what language is different through all the cultures. When I was in China, they all spoke Mandarin. A lot of them also spoke another language, such as English, but they all spoke Mandarin. Now, what was crazy is if I was in Shanghai and then my teaching assistant went with me to go to Beijing to show me around the Great Wall, she did not understand everything that was spoken in Beijing because there was different dialects. And some of the words that they used in Beijing, she didn't understand because she's originally from the Shanghai area, and that state-type province is what it was. But she was not able to understand that, but she was able to use context clues to help. But even here in America, in Texas, Oklahoma area, the southern area, we say the word y'all. But when you go up to Texas, when you go up to New York, they understand what y'all means because right now it's so well known, but they don't fully use that word a lot. And there are a lot of words that you might hear in the north that you don't hear down south, or vice versa. So you just have to make sure, what culture are you in? How are you interpreting the words? Just because I'm in a culture that speaks English, my English might be different than someone else's English. So there might be different dialects, different culture forms. So just remember that as you're going through and you're communicating to people, and when you're doing your speeches that you're looking at. Now, a lot of us are from the South and we understand all of this, but make sure you're giving great details and you're not going over the top and just saying something that only people from your area would know. If you are, that's great, but make sure you also explain what you're talking about. Now, as we go through, your text talks about the First Amendment. Now, the First Amendment, as you can see here, is the freedom of speech. Now, the freedom of speech is where you can say anything you want, right? Well, that's actually wrong. The freedom of speech is you can almost say anything you want, but once you start going against someone else's beliefs, then that's when you actually are breaking your amendment because you're going on someone else's beliefs, and that's a law. So if you are screaming at someone and you're not letting them talk, you're actually breaking your First Amendment because you're breaking their First Amendment. So remember that. Yes, America, we have the right to say almost anything we want, but there are limitations to what we can say. And the First Amendment actually lays that out. It doesn't just say the freedom of speech. It lays out and explains it within the Bill of Rights, within our amendments, and different things like that. So a lot of people think they can say whatever they want, and then they get in trouble, and they get frustrated because they thought they had the right to the First Amendment. You do, but realize there are limitations. Once you start intruding on someone else's rights, then you are now crossing a line to where you have your First Amendment, crossing a line to breaking someone else's amendment. So make sure you remember that. Now, as we go through, make sure that you remember with this First Amendment, communication is a two-way street. One of the biggest parts that people get in trouble with is they are just saying everything, and they're not actually taking the time to listen. So make sure you are taking the time to listen and go back and forth. Because when you have a good discussion instead of an argument, a good discussion, most people don't get in trouble for that. You can say almost anything you want as long as you are having a discussion, you're going back and forth with it. Okay. Speaking ethically and credibly. This goes along with one of our past presidents of the United States. For those of you who do not know who this is President Bill Clinton. Now, he is known as now maybe the wife of Hillary Clinton who ran for president, but back in the day, before my time and before a lot of your time, Bill Clinton was president. Now, if you don't know, Bill Clinton is known for one special thing, and he's known for having sexual relations with his intern, Monica Lewinsky. But the reason he's known for that is not just because he's a president who had an affair, because we've had plenty of that. It's because he lied to America. In this picture, it's a great picture showing that he was looking at America and waving his finger at us saying, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Now, if he would have came out and said, well, yeah, I did have sexual relations with that woman, oops, and he would have just messed up, then America would have been like, okay, you messed up, you're a pretty good president, but I don't really know. Because if you look at the term before all this went down, his international trades were phenomenal. The stock markets were at an all-time high. His reign as president was great until this happened, and then a lot of other things started happening, and his reign as president kind of started going out of control. But he was a phenomenal president until he lied to America, and then a lot of stuff happened, not just this. But if he would have just told America, yeah, I messed up, America would have said, I don't really like your ethics, I don't really like who you are, but you're a pretty good president because you are honest with us. When you are speaking, make sure you are doing a speech, make sure you're speaking, communicating with credibility, with ethics. Make sure you have reason to be speaking. Don't just go up and start talking like you're a doctor and you're not. Or don't go out and lie to everyone because, as we know and we learned from The Boy Who Cried Wolf, once you say and cry wolf so many times, people are no longer going to believe you. Just like Bill Clinton. He lied to us, so now the country was not able to believe him. Okay, as we go on, you want to make sure that you're not plagiarizing. And at the beginning, I told you about this, and this is where plagiarizing really takes place, is writing papers and in speeches. So realize there are two ways that you need to avoid plagiarizing. Okay? It's oral citation and written citation. Realize plagiarizing is not just stealing one's words, but it's saying stealing one's words and or ideas. So if you quote someone without giving them credit, that is plagiarizing. But also if you steal someone's ideas, that is plagiarizing. And that's why we have patents. A lot of times people say, well, I had that idea, it was in my garage. Well, they had no proof of it, but the other person patented the idea or written the idea or had something of the idea beforehand. So they can't prove it, so we're not able to do any of that. But if you write the idea down, you publish it, you publicize it, you do any of that, that means it's your idea because you have it written down. So anyone else who has to do it, they now have to write it or orally cite it. So when I say written citation, this is where APA comes in handy. So make sure you go check that tab out when you're citing and doing different things like that for your next speech. But oral citation, that's when you're going to be saying something like, according to, blah, 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 found in, stated by, quoted by, listed in, different things like that. You're basically saying something within found here, meaning this is not my use of words, but I'm using it to support my argument. So when you are doing your speech, in your informative speech, I'm going to be looking for you to say something like, according to, found in, stated by. Those key words, I will be looking for those. So make sure you do not plagiarize, because if you do, that is unethical. Now, we talked about today looking at different meanings, and we talked about looking at words and listening. There is an activity that goes in with the discussion that I want you to do, and it goes in with your participation. So this is called same word, different meaning. I have a paper that I've uploaded to the online classroom, and what it is there's a list of words. I want you to go and I want you to figure out the list of words, and you define those words. So if the word means desk, define what desk means. But then I want you to go find someone else not in your stereotypical self. Normally I'd like you to go for someone different age. So if you're about 18, 19, young 20s, I want you to go find someone who's in their 60s would be great. So find someone who's a different age. Some of you might be parents already, so if you're a parent of a teenager, then ask your teenager. That's perfect, because you're going to have different ideas than your teenager. But you do not need to just say, oh, well, I asked my girlfriend about this. That does not count. You will not get credit for that. So do not just ask your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your friend. I want you to ask someone who has a big age range from you. Again, parent asking a teen child, perfect. If you are asking your parent or your grandparent, perfect. It's someone in a different generation than you. So go and make sure you do that. There are multiple parts to this participation. So make sure you don't just ask and define. There's some more. Make sure you read it and you follow all the instructions. Okay? If you have any questions about that one, let me know. Now, this next one is called the listening game. You should already have a piece of pen and paper out, but if you don't, then go ahead and pull another one out. Okay, once you pull it out, you're going to go ahead and listen to the story. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you the story once. Don't take notes. Don't do any of that. And then I'm going to ask you a list of questions. So just listen to the story, and then I'm going to ask you questions throughout. Okay? Or actually, I have a quiz uploaded. I'm sorry. So when you're ready, you're going to do the story, and then you're going to take the quiz to see how well you do. Okay? A businessman just turned off the lights in a store when a man appeared and demanded money. The owner opened up the cash register. The contents of the cash register were scooped up and a man sped away. A member of the police force was notified promptly. I'll say it again. A businessman had just turned off the lights in a store when a man appeared and demanded money. The owner opened up a cash register. The contents of the cash register were scooped up and a man sped away. A member of the police force was notified promptly. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to go take the quiz. And the quiz is pretty simple. It's true or false. If you don't have enough information, then you don't know, so it's false, right? So make sure you go take the quiz. You heard it once, go take the quiz. Other than that, that's all you have to do for this weekend. If you have any more questions, let me know. I'm happy to help. I'm always able to talk to you via email and anything like that. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. If not, you have a great week. Bye, guys.